Well, let's jump into stuff. So, first, I wanted to. I know normally we do news at the end, but I figured this was a pretty big news that broke today that we should kick the show off with, and that is the signing of Aaron Wolf. So, New Japan had a press conference today announcing that Aaron Wolf, who won the 2020 Olympic gold medal in judo, had signed with the company. And shortly after that announcement, NJPW President Hiroshi Tanahashi said that Wolf would have his first professional wrestling match on January 4th, 2026 at the Tokyo Dome. Wolf said during the press conference that he had just come from his last judo tournament. As a college student, he said he always looked forward to watching World Pro Wrestling and JPW's television show and realized this could be a new way to express himself. He said that he had start training this month. Tanahashi said that while he wouldn't be living with the rest of the Young Lions, he would be training with them in the dojo and would be attending events prior to his debut. Kadani, CEO of New Japan, said, CEO of Bushiroad, said he was very happy and appreciative of Wolf's decision to enter pro wrestling. So in addition to his Olympic gold medal, Wolf also won the gold at the 2017 World Judo Championships. So Josh, I know we had been kind of every once in a while kind of speculated on a guy like Aaron Wolf coming in, and there had kind of been rumors and murmurs of potentially him coming in. You know, he's talked to Okada in the past, and he's mentioned in the past his interest in New Japan and watching wrestling and wanting to get into pro wrestling. And I think even last week we were talking about, where are the big, burly, legitimate guys that can be in the heavyweight division. And lo and behold, Aaron Wolf is now officially signed. What do you think when you saw the news?
Why would I be surprised? I mentioned it last week. You think that was a coincidence?
Ahead.
Yeah, we were ahead. No, I'm just playing. I had no idea that this was happening. But yeah, I thought it was funny when you read Kadani was very happy and appreciative of his decision to come. I'm like, I bet you were, Kadani. I bet you were, very appreciative considering the outlook of your company right now and its need for, new blood and new stars. So yeah, I think this is a great thing. Who knows? You just never know when a cross-trained athlete comes over, especially if they're if they have notoriety and some level of acclaim and stardom prior to joining wrestling, whether that's going to be a detriment or if that's going to translate. Very recently, you look at Gable Stevenson, right, in WWF or WWE, that NXT, that shit didn't work out.
Yeah, that was a flop.
New Japan has had their fair share of real legit shooters and sporting athletes come over and compete to varying degrees of success. But the thing with Aaron Wolf is he's got multiple world championships. He is known in Japan. He's half American. He's fluent in English and Japanese. Not the biggest guy in the world. He's 5'11", but he's very legit. And I think that they're hoping that with someone like him who has the ability to cross over on two continents, potentially, that maybe the star claim will be there and the sporting background will endear him to the Japanese domestic audience. So I think it's great. And, even if it doesn't work out, this is the kind of bold recruiting and sort of, recruiting that this company needs to be doing to try and progress and move forward in the light of what's going on in the current climate of, professional wrestling.
Yeah. And this is a pretty young guy. He's 29 years old, legitimate, judo background. And, this guy, he's a celebrity, so to speak, in Japan, very popular, kind of seen almost like a national hero for, winning the Olympics. Like you mentioned, half Japanese, half American, fluent in the language. And this is a guy that, people know who it is. People all over Japan are very excited about this. So we're hearing about the signing. This is a guy that could be, somebody who could make a momentum shift for New Japan just based on the notoriety of his name. And like you said, there is no promises. I mean, obviously he's going to be going through one of the best training systems out there in pro wrestling in the Noge Dojo. He's very close with Yuji Nagata, and I'm sure they're going to do everything possible to get him ready for the Tokyo Dome. And I don't know if it's going to be, a exhibition, kind of like what we saw with Bolton Oleg, or if it's actually going to be like an official, full blown match. But they're going to do whatever they can to, get him ready and capitalize on it. And so if he goes, someone like a Kurt Angle, a former, gold medalist that really took to pro wrestling, if he can get on that track and with his momentum and popularity, like he can bring a lot of eyes to New Japan. And if they build around him, and in the press conference, they made it, they said, it's no coincidence that his first match is going to be the same night as Tanahashi's last match. And so they're even already kind of pointing it out as like, this is kind of like the passing of the torch, kind of a generational move. Like, one ace comes out, maybe a next ace comes in. And even last week, we're talking about, we're in an aceless company right now. Umino's failed multiple times. They haven't really gone all the way with Tsuji. They haven't given Uemura a shot. They really haven't done anything with Oiwa. So we have all these young guys that they haven't really, either they failed or they haven't really pushed yet. And now here comes Aaron Wolf, who's going to be debuting on the same night as Tanahashi's retirement, and the company's pointing that out. So if all stars align, this guy could be the next ace that pushes New Japan forward.
Yeah, I mean, if you are listening to my Tanahashi series on the Patreon, I mentioned in 1999 when he joined the company, it was like Riki Choshu had just retired, Antonio Inoki had just retired, Fujinami's on his way out, Hashimoto's on his last leg, Chono's on his way out. That, like, literally every single major star of this company was literally walking out the door as he's joining, and there's this whole entire transitionary period. And where we're at in New Japan circa 2025, it's not that different in some ways. I see certain like patterns kind of repeating themselves, and it's a little scary. So I'm like, are we going to a fucking dark age? Like,
yeah. So I mean, yeah, hopefully this is signs of good things to come. We had some questions here about this signing. So Drawer says, how would you book Wolf's run for the next 2 years, starting from Wrestle Kingdom?
I would personally bring him in, and I would have him lose to someone fairly prominent in a spirited affair in his first match. Not a young lion, not a young guy either. So like a veteran,
Like Shingo.
I was trying to think of a good one. Shingo could be a really good candidate. In the past, if Goto wasn't the fucking world champion, like someone of Goto's, Goto pre IWGP heavyweight title win, that's who I might have picked. Or even Nagata, someone like that. Ishii's a good, anyone like that. I think someone honestly, ideally, I would like it to be someone pretty fairly big, because I think that the optics of having him throw a larger opponent in his debut match would be, like, I wish Nakanishi was still in the company, like someone like that. But yeah, I mean, long term, I would probably, and other people would want to, I don't know, treat him like Goldberg or something like that. I personally wouldn't do that, but I would fast track him. I would probably, it's just me personally, I would keep him in the fucking gi. I'd have him wrestle in the fucking judo gi and differentiate him. I would bring back the Young Lions Cup by the tail end of 2025, or I'm sorry, 2026. And I'd have him either final or even potentially win that shit. Maybe do a tag league. All the while, I would have him like move up incrementally. Like, his first year, I'd have him wrestling Young Lions, beating them, losing to veterans, and in like very, effective like learning experiences. I'd have him teaming with some of the best like baby faces in the company. By 2027, I'd have him do something prominent in the dome. I don't know, maybe like a never 6-man tag match type of thing. You put him in the fucking New Japan Cup, maybe give him a win. We're talking about hot shotting this dude. I'm talking about like within the first 2 years, and I'd have him beat a veteran on the end of the year card. Have him beat a veteran by the end of the year. The dome, he does a 6-man tag. Something very fresh and exciting at New Year's Dash to kind of like be like, I'm here. I'm kind of quote unquote graduated. Maybe he challenges for a title. Maybe he fails. Like we talked about, New Japan Cup. And I'd get him into that G1 qualifier by mid-year, have him win that shit, go into the G1. Doesn't need to win it, but he'd pick up some significant wins there, and then I'd have him like contending for titles by like year's end, and by the time you get him to Wrestle Kingdom in 2028, he should be in some sort of prominent singles title picture run. I don't know what that looks, maybe like a never title, maybe the white belt. I don't know, but it depends on how fast he progresses. But if you wanted to really hot shot somebody and you're looking for a star and an ace, that's kind of the trajectory. You know what? And you could probably throw a best of 7 series, the 7 series trial somewhere in that obligatory 2-year period.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I mean, I think I might even try to do a little bit of faster, but again, also it kind of depends on how quickly he acclimates and really learns pro wrestling. But maybe that first matchup, maybe you do something like him and Bolton in kind of an exhibition. So if you're going to treat him as a young lion, I would like do that, like kind of the 5-minute exhibition with him and Bolton, really highlight both of the wrestling and the judo from both guys. And then he can be the young lion, from there. And then, unlike some of the other young lions, I would have him destroy like young lions that are currently in his class, rack up wins by beating young lions, get into the New Japan Cup, maybe get like a couple upset wins there in the New Japan Cup in that first year, gets eliminated, and get him in G1, have him have a good G1 record there as well. And then by the time you come to that next Wrestle Kingdom, getting him, he should be in a big program and title match for that 2027 Wrestle Kingdom.
So you're a little bit more bullish on him. I'm just not as optimistic about the short term. I think that as good as New Japan is at developing guys, it takes some time. I think we're still, even right now, just starting to scratch the surface on like what Oleg Bolton can do. And it's kind of a similar situation. So we'll see. Some guys don't take to it, you just never know. But I think this is really exciting stuff. I was talking to Rich about it today, and he was like looking at his body. He's like, I don't know, man. Some pictures I see a guy that looks like he might be fit. Sometimes I see a picture, it looks like this might be Great O'Khan,
Yeah.
And I did point out, I was like, well, Ricky Choshu and Fujinami, guys like that, Kensuke Sasaki, they didn't have to have like bodybuilder physique and matinee idol good looks. And he's like, bro, look at what this company's been since like Okada came in, since like Tanahashi was the ace. Like it's all about the hot boys, with the V cuts and the abs. Like who have they really realistically pushed to the top of this card in the past 13 years that wasn't just a fucking heartthrob dreamboat? You know what I mean?
Yeah. But the one thing he has that a lot of other guys don't have is that popularity. And I think that's why I'm a little bit bullish on trying to push him a little bit forward, where, he might not be 100% ready in that first year, but he's going to have the crowd support and the popularity, and there are going to be media attention. Like he's going to have a lot of eyes on him, a lot of attention. And so even if he's like decent, it's like you kind of carry that momentum of the popularity to start pushing him.
If he's really popular, I hope they bring the photographers back to ringside. I miss having a gaggle of photographers all over the fucking ringside just for big shows where you're like, dude, get the fuck out of the way. Like that's what I want.
Yeah. Next question here. Speaking of Rich, Rich says, "Will Aaron Wolf debut in the House of Torture?"
Fucking troll.
Hawaiian Punch BB says, "Thoughts on Aaron Wolf finally signing with NJPW? It might be way too early for this, but what if Wolf is the Ogawa to Goto's Hashimoto?"
That would be well, here's the thing. Hashimoto, like, his defense record's not that much further beyond what Goto's at right now. As crazy as that sounds, like, I think, is Goto at 7 right now? I think Hashimoto's all-time single defense record is like 9. And the only 3 people that ever passed that were Tanahashi, Nagata, and Okada, right? Unless you count Inoki, who he smashed all those records to unpassable amounts in the 70s, but that's besides the point. So yeah, so like what if Goto is on the way for like this, like, quote unquote meteoric historical run or whatever that no one expected, and it's lengthier than everyone was thinking, and then they bring Aaron Wolf in, and he just fucking starts STOing this guy. Takes the title like day one. What if they do some shit like that? But he's not Okada had so many years of seasoning before they ever decided to pull that kind of trigger on him. That if they brought in like Aaron Wolf and did something like that, it'd be kind of unprecedented.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a bold, ballsy move to do that, have him win the title, that Wrestle Kingdom, and then again, you kind of carry that momentum of popularity. But then it's like, all right, will he be able to get it done in the ring, in main events, and title matches? I mean, he will probably initially draw just based off of his popularity and stature, but
unless you did something like this, Goto drops the title in October post G1 to set up whatever fucking, just stick with me. I don't know what the fucking title picture looks like, but they're gonna do something different. Goto's not part of it. And after Goto drops the title, Aaron Wolf comes out and it's like, I want you, and they were like, they're saying he's going to show up on some of these shows. Like, what if they set up, the most recent former champion versus the debuting Aaron Wolf, and then Aaron Wolf just fucking suns this dude in front of his kids at ringside, and they're crying.
Beats him up. Go home and be a family man. That would be wild. I don't know what the long-term ramifications would that be. Like, would he actually be able to deliver in main events, or
be fucking awesome? That's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I mean,
the
Brock Lesnar out.
But Brock Lesnar didn't work out for this company. Ogawa didn't work out for this company. Fujita didn't work out for this. There's time, Bob Sapp, shit like that didn't always work out.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
For various reasons.
Yeah.
But yeah, this could be, I mean, yeah, it could be crazy if they did that. Next question.
Fuck you,
Goto. From Discord Daddy, it says, Wrestle Kingdom on TV for the first time in 20 years. Aaron Wolf signed. These appear to be positive moves for the company. Is Gato going to blow his opportunity? Take me off a ledge here, fellas.
I don't know, man. I honestly, until this news today, I saw some people that were not super enthralled with this announcement. I think that these are very positive announcements, especially, I got to be honest with you. I don't know how popular Aaron Wolf is in Japan. I'm not from Japan. I don't, we cover New Japan Pro Wrestling, but I don't understand, or, I'm not privy to his cultural impact. I hope it is big. That would be awesome. I also don't know what the time slot looks like for, this news just dropped today. I've had a crazy day at work, so I don't know what them airing it live looks like. I guess it's live, but is that in prime time? I don't know what the TV structure looks like. I'm hoping it's just like TV Asahi, and that's like similar to like Fox or CBS or something like that, but maybe it's not. I don't know. I know they have other affiliates and things like that, but they do appear to be positive signs. Me personally, coming out of Dominion, looking at some of the things that are going on in the company, I will say this, and this is just me being completely blunt and honest. I feel like right now in this exact moment, and it might change in a very short amount of time because things are so up and down with this company. But right now, this is like the most down I've been on New Japan post pandemic.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Dominion was very deflating and just left a bad taste in my mouth with some of the booking decisions. And even watching some of this New Japan Soul tour, I'm just like, man, what are we doing right now?
Yeah, yeah. There was like so much where I was just watching it and I was like, we could be doing better things. I don't understand this tour for a lot of reasons. We're gonna review it anyways, but yeah, I think this announcement and this press conference today is a breath of fresh air, and it is positive moves in the right direction, which is what you want to see if you're a fan of this company.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a sign of hope, a sign of light of things to come. But he can end up being a superstar, a great wrestler, but bad booking can ruin anybody. And
I'm very much like I'm feeling deeply like in my bones like there needs to be a change in creative direction. There needs to be a change in focus and intent with this company. And just throwing a couple like coats of paint on some guys or whatever is not going to cut it. Like there needs to be a shift in their mentality about how they do pro wrestling. And I think that's healthy. Um, I just, I'm at a point where I don't trust Gato anymore.
yeah, I feel like every once in a while maybe he does something good, but yeah, I think consistently he has not had a great track record on some of the bigger booking decisions the last couple of years, especially this year. And I get that maybe him and Tanahashi are boys, and Tanahashi appreciates his time with Gato, but I think as if I'm the president, I'm like, that's the first move I'm making. I'm like, all right, we got to shake up creative. Like Gato, you can still be a war dog if you want, but we need somebody else in the head of the booker room.
Um, I know this is off topic, but Pentagon Jr. just lost on Raw again. Great move for those guys.
Hey, at least they're free, art.
Yeah. Well, at least they're not on their way over to, the Middle East. So that, yeah. So
All right. All right. Any other final thoughts here in Airwolf before we move on?
I'm excited. I'm always there's that sicko part of me that is always kind of a fan of when you do mix because I'm a fan of other types of combat sports aside from just professional wrestling. So I like when they bring over a fucking sumo wrestler or a savate guy or a MMA fighter, or like when Ronda Rousey came to WWE, like Brock Lesnar, like these are people I fucking like. And I know that not everybody is like down with that or the biggest fan in the world, but I think that it adds like different wrinkles. I think there's a good and a bad way to do those things. We've all seen, the terrible work shoot shit that just doesn't work out. But I've also seen like Volkan be one of the greatest wrestlers alive in the world with very little minimalistic training, so I'm looking forward to seeing what they're able to do with this guy and what he brings to the table, and I think that's fresh and exciting, and that's what you want. So
Yeah. So definitely looking forward to Aaron Wolf's debut come January 2026.